Hey, welcome to MarrowOchi's Top 10. This is going to be the first of a few. I'm not doing them all right now, obviously. I mean, Jesus, what do you think I am? Um, it's We're pretty much going to do one after another. So he's going to do one, MasksLantern. He's going to do one, I'm going to do one. This is the first one because I do what I want. And we're just going to go right into it. Top 10 games ever. For me. It's all opinion. None of these are facts. Everything I say is true though because it's me saying it, and everything I say is perfect. I'm kidding. Um, yeah, so let's just get started. Uh, Top 10 best video games ever made. MarrowOchi stuff. You know what I'm doing. All right, come on, let's go. Red Dead Revolver is what Capcom did first, and then Rockstar picked it up, and then made a better game. But they made Red Dead Redemption later. This is the original. This is the good one. This is the one I think is superior because it has a better cast of characters, it has a better story, and it's just more fun. There's whatever they did with Red Dead Redemption kind of took away from what Red Dead Revolver was. The arcade shooting gallery with a decent story to back it up. And honestly, it couldn't get any better than that.
I have a surprise for the whole family. A free trip to the aquarium.
Who's that man with the three-piece suit?
Octodad Dadliest Catch is probably one of the funniest games you will ever play. The physics engine is nothing short of completely retarded, but the game is so much better just because of the physics engine being so retarded. This is kind of like Goat Simulator, which would be on this list if I could actually get a copy on my Mac, but I have a Mac, so I can't play it. But this game is just hysterical. What they do in the game is so different from what you can do in many other games, from crappy physics all over the place to just the controls. The controls alone are pretty much what make this game, and to top it off we have a heartwarming story between a family and an octopus, which usually doesn't make any goddamn sense, but it makes sense here.
Are you an
Hey, just go play it.
What can you tell me about him? Kids, have you seen your father? It's almost closing time. Where could he be?
Anyone who knows me knows that I am a giant fan of Alice. We actually had a whole thing on Connect Disneyland where I pretty much made out with Alice. I mean, what? When it comes to Alice video games, there aren't really that many good ones. Now, there are really a lot of good ones on the iPhones, but they're mostly just, casual running stuff games. And for video games in general, there really isn't anything. However, there is one, and that is American McGee's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. The thing about this game, which I think it makes it so much more superior than its sequel, is that it is Wonderland. It's not a bunch of, random worlds popped together to try and emulate just, imagination. This is Wonderland. This is what makes Wonderland Wonderland. It's just imagination everywhere. Every single level feels different. Every single item you acquire does something completely different and nonsensical to its own standards. And it's just fun, and it's Alice, and I really couldn't ask for anything better than that. Besides the 7 games above this one. Anyways, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, American McGee Edition. So many years later, and I am still playing this goddamn game, trying to get every single goddamn character. You know what? I'm having so much fun the entire time. I may be speaking fast, but that's because this game is really, really fast. This is what Sonic wants to be when he grows up, and he still hasn't grown up. I went there. Anyways. God, I have a headache. This is a really, 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 really fast game. Really fun. It's like the best parts of Tony Hawk put into a graffiti skater thing. I don't know how else to explain it. You really have to play it to understand what's going on. There you go. Next game. Journey is one of those experiences that you sit down for 2 hours, and when you get up, you feel like a completely different person. It's beautiful, it's atmospheric, the music is wonderful, the story, which not even a single word is spoken, but the story itself is one of the best in gaming, period. It's just, what little gameplay there is, it really makes up for it with the great aesthetics, the great storyline, the great music, the great sound effects, just everything is nearly one of the most perfect games ever created, ever. And the only reason it is so low on this list right now is because of personal preference of the 5 games above it. That's all. Go play this. Seriously, it's amazing.
You must find her, Zoe. You must help her. Wherever she is, that's where you're needed the most.
Usually when I hear of a cliffhanger at the end of a story mode, I really don't care that people got a cliffhanger. I'm not gonna lie, it is a really nice way to set up for the next game. But for the most part, when you say that there's a cliffhanger that's so emotional and so heartrending that you have to wait this is what happened with Half-Life, that you have to wait so long for, the next game to come out. I'm like, I don't really care. And then I played Dreamfall. I shit you not, everything changes when you play Dreamfall's ending. I have never experienced basically a point-and-click adventure game with so much depth, so much lore inside it, that it changes everything. Like, the ending to this game, I am not going to spoil anything, but I will say it now, if you do not cry at the ending to this game, you are no longer a human being. You are a robot. Beep, boop, motherfucker. Seriously, it's that good of an ending. I have never... up until this game, I didn't really feel like I could really be emotionally impacted by games to some sort of extent. There was a few. There was a few really big ones, but this is what had me in tears, and it's just a great experience from start to finish, and I am so looking forward to Dreamfall Chapters. You have no idea. It's probably going to be my game of the year of that year. Isn't it coming out like later this year? It's already my game of the year. There, I said it. Dreamfall Chapters looks amazing. Dreamfall The Longest Journey is one of the best games I ever played. Next game.
Given the choice, whether to rule a corrupt and failing empire, or to challenge the fates for another throw, a better throw against one's destiny, what was a king to do?
Funny story about this game. I actually bought it at a Blockbuster when I think I was 15 years old. I just gotten back from, I think, martial arts there, and I wanted a new game. So they had this purchasing area at Blockbuster. Usually, I don't think Blockbuster exists anymore. But I remember seeing it in this glass case with a bunch of new releases. I don't even know if it wasn't a new release at the time. They just had it there, and it was covered in glass. And it was just one of those games where they're like, no, you don't touch that unless you're buying it. And it really stood out to me for some reason. And I remember pointing at that game and I go, that's going to be amazing. I got it, I went home, I played it, and oh my god, I fell in love. The characters of this game, Raziel and Cain alone, are some of the best in video game history. Their personalities, their motivations, the way they interact without interacting. I know, that doesn't make sense. You really have to sit down and play the game to understand what I'm going with here. But Raziel and Cain are just two of the biggest rivals and friends I've ever seen in a video game. Bar pretty much nothing. Next game. Up until last year, Gravity Rush was actually my favorite game. Ever. A lot has happened since then. I've come to terms with some of my more favorite games. And the two above will not really surprise you if you know me, but let's just talk about Gravity Rush. The game is gorgeous, alright? The game has some of the best music to date, in a video game. I don't know how to really explain that further, but they came up with their own language, and it makes sense, and it sounds like this weird, combination of French and Japanese, and it may be the only good game on the Vita. I won't lie. I still believe that. I think it's the only solid title on the PlayStation Vita. There's a lot that has come out that's okay. There's a lot of remakes. There's a lot of stupid bullshit that they just shove at us. And this is that game. This is the game that sells the Vita. Sadly, I sold my Vita. I will not be able to play this anymore. I am looking forward to getting a new one once they release Gravity Rush 2. Looking forward to that, by the way. That looks honestly amazing. So, I'll see you guys there. Next game. Funny thing about DotHack, it's actually one of my favorite series ever. It's probably the definitive series of my life. The problem is the first game on this list is something that I'm not even going to talk about that because that's kind of detracting from the list. This game is fucking beautiful. It still looks good to this day with old PS2 graphics. I don't even know how that makes sense. I mean, yeah, they had DotHack Versus and that looks like God knows how much better. But this is still a game that holds up. And I really, 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 really want an HD re-release of this game. As much as I don't like HD re-releases, this game deserves it. It's just, you have to really understand where I'm coming from with this, because a lot of my friends that I've met in my life, I met through DotHack. It's that much of a good series to me. And the only reason this does not make number one is because the actual number one did something a lot better, which I will go into next. Next game. Final game, whatever. I don't like horror games. Let me rephrase that. I love horror games, but I don't like current generation horror games. I know a lot of people have said this, but that's something really turns me off about all these really just pop out action horror games that just pretend they're scary. I've been playing those a lot, like a lot, and it really pisses me off how many people do it, and it just really turns me off with horror games as a series. And then someone told me to get Silent Hill 2. Problem is, I didn't want Silent Hill 2. I think Pyramid Head's kind of, drawn around too much right now. So I decided to get the HD re-release and get Silent Hill 3, because again, I don't have the PS2 capabilities. What I played was the best game I have ever played in my entire life, and I haven't even gotten past the goddamn subway. You need to understand, when people say first impressions are really stupid, I say fuck you. This game changed everything for me. This game became one of the best games I ever played in my entire life. And I haven't even gotten past the tutorial. And that's really hard for me to say, because again, I like to say, hey, I've beaten the game. But this game is scaring the shit out of me so many times, with great atmosphere, great character story, great story, great character design, the atmosphere in this game is so unbelievably thick. Even on the HD re-release, when they took away the fog, that it's beautifully terrifying. Now, whether or not you actually like horror games or you don't, that's really up to you, but this game revitalized the horror genre for me, and I know it came out so long ago, and I know I only played it recently, and I know I haven't even beaten it, or even come close to beating the fucking tutorial. You know what? Doesn't matter. This is the best game I have ever played, and it's going to be very, very, very difficult to take this off of my #1 spot. That's all. M&M Gaming, MarrowOchi's list. Silent Hill 3, best game ever made. Thank you. Bye-bye.